That's right, we're talking about none other than Kelvin Posdanos Mercer, David Trugoy the Dove Joliker, and Vincent Maceo Mason Jr., better known as De La Soul, also known as Plug 1, Plug 2, and Plug 3. We won't be including any mixtapes, EPs, or this side project right here. As always, we encourage you to share, like, follow, and subscribe to our channel. Also, the Super Thanks button can never get enough love from you, fam. Now that we've set the stage, it's time to do what we came here to do. Number 8, And the Anonymous Nobody. From the poetic intro by Jill Scott to the outro that's also the intro as stated by Plug 1 on Exodus, don't pick up 2016's And the Anonymous Nobody expecting it to sound anything like material from their heyday. If so, you'll be sorely disappointed because your daddy's version of the three-man crew, this is not. Although there is a nice little Easter egg in the You Go Dave skit near the project's conclusion. To be blunt and to the point, there's just far too many skips and anonymous tracks here. Harking back to the good old days of hip-hop when the albums weren't afraid to throw an instrumental in the mix just because. Drawn isn't the head nodder we wish it was. The artistry displayed on Greyhounds featuring Usher is solid, but we doubt it's one people are going to be itching to run back. Plug 2 boasts of Lord Intended featuring Justin Hawkins being the hardest rock shit out, and with the repeated chants of it's certainly a good track to throw on when you need to let out some pent-up stress. The Pete Rock produced In Memory of Us featuring once hopeful British star Estelle is a keeper, while 2 Chainz has arguably the best verse on Houdini. Of note, Nobody was their first album to garner a Grammy nod and to debut at the top of the Billboard Rap Albums chart, as it amassed 2 million or so streams during the week of its first release. However, it simply doesn't hold up against the rest of their catalog. For those watching who contributed to the Kickstarter funds toward this album, did you feel you got your money's worth or no? Spark the convo about it down in the comments below. Number 7, AOI, Bionics. You'll hear Maceo say on the title track of their 6th album that,
"Oh, remember AOI Part 3 coming soon on some DJ shit."
But the way Tommy Boy Records was set up, it didn't quite happen the way they planned it. Seeing how this final product came out, it may be a good thing they were forced to change directions following its release and subsequent dissolution of their label. It's almost a given to be a great track when Slick Rick's involved, but we can't agree with that on What We Do for Love. Special and Held Down are lyrically solid, but the production behind them doesn't fare as well, nor does CeeLo Green's singing add much to the latter. Their X-rated Jam Pawn Star is downright cringeworthy, quickly making you reach for the skip track button. At least the melting pot of flavor on the lone single Baby Fat is a winner, including an interpolation of that old Vanity 6 joint Nasty Girl. Devin the Dude and Shaka Khan's goddaughter, Yummy Bingham, are in tow on the hook as they all share their love for the thicker side of a woman. Jay Dilla provides some head nod material on Peer Pressure with Be Real up to his old tricks again, still trying to get you to take a few hits from the bomb. Simply is all about having a good time, and the project closes out nicely with Trying People, but for everything else in between, like Brand Nubian said, we don't love them, so we gotta leave them alone. Number 6, Artificial Intelligence, Mosaic Thump. Always ahead of the curve, De La Soul titled their first album of the new millennium, Artificial Intelligence, Mosaic Thump. Although a sizable portion of early 2000s rap hasn't held up well, at least they didn't dial this one in on autopilot as some of our younger viewers may be led to believe. The guest list is indeed thumping with activity, as some West Coast flavor is brought by Exhibit and The Licks on my rights. Beastie Boys tag up Squat with their trademark sound, while Busy B checks in for the old school heads before the Marvin Gaye Laced With Me follows suit. Being that the world did not succumb to an extinction level event like Busta Rhymes had been predicting years prior to Y2K, he and our favorite LI guys took to the studio to work on their respective 5th albums. While De La didn't appear on his record of Anarchy from earlier in the year, the Dungeon Dragon did find time to kick a line for them on the energetic I See Y'all. As for the singles, R&B legend Shaka Khan did more than just the chorus on All Good, while Brick City representative Redman hopped on their 2nd Grammy-nominated single, Ooh, and its Wizard of Oz themed music video. Speaking of which, look closely and you'll peep Rod Digger in the clip, but unfortunately her microphone is inactive on this album. Another missed op by way of A Tribe Called Quest's Phife Dawg. It's criminal that he's relegated to a quick freestyle on the Ghost Weed skit too, especially considering De La is his 2nd favorite group.
Favorite rap group in the world is EPMD. Can't forget the daylight due to originality.
As you can imagine, there are some joints that'll have you wishing AI could replace a few of the throwaways near the end of the album. But even with a few stumbles here and there, Mosaic Thump on its own was a formidable record from the year 2000 and another solid entry on the De La catalog overall. Number 5, Stakes is High. Where were you when you first heard the titular track lead single from De La's 4th LP? Was it when the cameo-heavy video dropped in the summer of '96, which, among others, featured Mr.
You are not the God
himself, Maury Povich? Or was it just another day living in the hood around the way with your radio blasting? Wherever it was, we're sure you heard the shift in sound and tone off top. Not that it was a bad thing, just noticeable. These Long Island boys were slowly but quickly transitioning to men. A young JD helped co-produce, and gone were the services of longtime partner DJ Prince Paul. But the fellas had certainly picked up enough skills from their prominent producer to handle those duties for the majority of the project. Straight from the era where others were quick to reuse the samples they've dug up, The Business featuring Calm Sense was recycled in '97 on Busta's The Body Rock by the very same champagne-sipping, money-faking mogul Trugoy told you not to connect with. Mos Def is heard for the first time by a national audience on Big Brother Beat. Hot girl group at the time, Janae, shared their vocals on For More, and some of that James Brown funk helped kick off Down Syndrome. Don't ask us why they named it that, cause we ain't got the answers, fam. There's a line from Plug 2 on Long Island Degrees that we're surprised never caused any controversy, considering the obvious jab at one of their peers.
Check the level, stakes is high in the sky. I got questions about your life if you so ready to die.
Considering he already had his hands full with his friend turned foe from the West while working on his own magnum opus, the big man literally had no time to pick these lyrics apart. Which Stakes is High had a lot to go through, because the more you listen to it, the more you realize De La had a lot on their minds in the 9-6. No more fun and games. While not a big sales success, it was still well received, hitting number 4 on the rap charts and number 12 on the Billboard 200. It's hard having to place this album in the 5 spot, but with the strength of these next 4 albums, it's the only logical place for it. Number 4, The Grind Date. Post-shutdown of the AOI series before the final entry could be generated, the Long Island trio of plugs shifted gears and gave us The Grind Date in '04 instead. Chances are, if you didn't cop any of their physical media before this, Grind Date was the first album you heard from them. And they were back with a newfound energy this go-round, finally free from their longtime slave masters Tommy Boy Records. Peep the title track for how Plug 1 feels about that. No skits and not much bullshit either, The Grind Date provides a healthy serving of dope beats and solid penmanship that's expected from Dave and Paz. Common was continuing to heat up mics in '04 with his appearance on Days of Our Lives before dropping his own soap opera that would be a return to form the following year. And yes, that pun was intentional. If you were already burnt out on the 1000th play of Jesus Walks, Ninth Wonder's backdrop for Church was sure to keep you satisfied before the group gives you a little something serious to think about. How serious are we talking here, fam? Picture this: a world without hip-hop? It's like that with Carl Thomas on the Hook is where this concept is explored. And like the chances of the Hornets winning a championship, we're doubtful it's something we'll experience this lifetime. Madlib goes 1 for 2 on his contributions, a hit with Come On Down alongside Flavor Flav, while brushing the side of the rim with the simp-shaming shopping bag, She Got It For You.
What you need is to end it, cause you give the dough, but get no ass back in return.
We could easily start a fire around that whole subject, but we'll just let you all do that in the comments amongst yourselves. Their most lean album at only 13 tracks has easily stood the test of time and is still a great listen nearly 2 decades later. And now it's time for a CT Sidebar. You knew it was coming, didn't you? Following the album we just spoke about, the next official De La Soul release didn't arrive until 2016. However, there was a side project in 2012 dubbed Plug 1 and Plug 2 Presents First Serve. It was a collaboration with the duo of French DJs Chocolate and Khaled. Being the masters of concept albums that they are, P1 and P2 took on the personas of Jacob and Dean respectively. Not to mention Plug 2 also doubled as a Martin Lawrence Big Mama sound-alike to help push the narrative along. We enjoyed this serving as it was given to us for the most part, but what say you, fam? Also, following Dave's untimely passing in February 2023, Maceo had announced on the Kyle Meredith With podcast in April that AOI 3 is definitely going to take precedent as they have a responsibility to sustain the late Trugoy's legacy. Most of that material was completed before he left us. As of the recording of this video, the Artificial Intelligence trilogy stalled out at the second entry, so it remains to be seen if part 3 truly comes to fruition. Who would you like to see hop on the 3rd edition of AOI? Let your fingers do the tapping and rapping down in the comments below. On to the top 3. Number 3, De La Soul is dead.
What happened to the pimps? What happened to the guns?
I know, right?
What happened to the curse
Rock
words?
hard.
That's what rap music is all about, right?
Yeah, man.
A lifelong debate about rap that will never grow old. All we'll say to that is that it depends on who you ask and which rappers you're taking into consideration. More specific to De La Soul though, the question by the time their sophomore album arrived in spring of '91 may have been, aren't those the hippie rappers? Aren't they the flower power guys? In case the album's art imagery wasn't enough, the trio had already grown tired of the hippie label and out to dead those thoughts expeditiously. Yes, the music still had happy, positive vibes and even a storybook narrative complete with audio tones of when to turn the page. But joints like Millie Pulled the Pistol on Santa and Fantastic of the B Word give assurance that this ain't no little kiddie album. And although the B Word you're thinking of isn't even mentioned on the latter, the song is no less enjoyable, which also includes a verse from Dre's of Black Sheep. One thing that does carry over from the Daisy age are the jamming ass samples that are either already hidden or became more popular after artists picked up on them from here. Don't miss out on Pass the Plugs, Oodles of O's, a roller skating jam named Saturdays, Keep the Faith, and of course, Ring Ring Ring.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry I can't get through, but leave your name and the number, and I'll get back to you.
Maceo had a more vocal presence this go around, and if it's more of their irreverent humor and skits that you want, they're here in spades. That is, of course, considering that you're taking in the CD or streaming versions of the album, as certain tracks were omitted from the tape and LP pressings. De La Soul is Dead was another early record to earn the coveted 5 mic status from the Source magazine upon release, and was a Vibe magazine top 10 hip-hop album. All of our heads who came up reading the Vibe back in the day, stand up. They got some things right. Even though it wasn't as commercially as successful nor as highly charting as their debut, the death of De La was about as permanent as your favorite so-called rapper's retirement. Number 2, Balloon Mind State. It might blow up, but it won't go pop, or whatever they were talking about on the intro to their third album. We don't know how they forecasted this one, but they hit the nail right on the head. Somewhat. With the numerous hip-hop releases in '93 from new faces and established artists alike, Balloon Mind State was easily the poster child for flying under the radar. Even if Tommy Boy Records had managed to release more singles on top of the mellowed out Michael and Smokey sampling Break of Dawn and Ego Trippin' Part 2, the sounds within this album were dope, but well off of the path of the mainstream. We know that Uncle L was paying attention to the latter from his peers on the island though.
Now I'm something like a phenomenon. I'm something like a phenomenon. Something like a phenomenon. Something like a phenomenon.
Maceo Parker, known for blowing his horn on many a James Brown track, is featured on 3 tracks. I Am I.B., Patty Dookie, which adds JB band member Fred Wesley and Guru on the hook, and the appropriately titled I Be Blowin', because you gotta let the brother with the funky horn get some on his own track. Since everyone loved the drum sample that was used on Hip Hop Hooray, you're sure to like its slowed down incorporation on 3 Days Later, before enjoying the Bismarck touch added to the final track Stone Age. The flavors served up here were refreshingly unlike anything else that was out at the time, and the best way to understand the appeal of this mind state is to just listen to it again and again and again. That's all there is to say. Number 1, 3 Feet High and Rising. Stop what you're doing, cause De La's about to ruin the image and the styles that you're used to. They look funny, but yo, they getting money, G. Sorry guys, wrong song. It's only right that we bite a little from our peers in true De La Soul fashion, as their lone platinum selling album 3 Feet High and Rising was a musical hodgepodge of whatever they could make fit together. And somehow it all worked. You knew that before you even clicked on this video, that Rising would rise above the rest of their catalog. So if you made it to this point without fast forwarding, dial 1-800-222-2222 to claim your prize today. But in all seriousness, fam, Prince Paul alongside plugs 1, 2, and 3 let it all hang out on this one. The influence of this album cannot be overstated, and the number of samples that went to take on lives of their own once used here are countless. The knee-jerk answer to what's the first song you think of when I say De La Soul is more than likely the gold-selling single,
It's Just Me, Myself, and I.
And if not that, a close second is the posse cut B-U-D-D-Y. The ubiquitous remix version of the track apparently had samples that couldn't be cleared, so it's still MIA unfortunately. But that's alright, because there's plenty of fun skits, off-kilter topics explored, and classic tracks like Potholes in My Lawn, I Know, plug tuning and ghetto thing to keep you jamming out. They don't just place any old album into the National Library of Congress, you know. And since this and their other 5 Tommy Boy era releases are finally available on streaming services worldwide, there's absolutely zero excuses not to become familiar with the one that started it all for this iconic group. Wax poetic about your favorite parts within this masterpiece in the comments below. Rest in peace to the late Plug 2, Trugoy the Dove. Alright fam, that's another one in the books. The way things are going, we didn't think there'd be a chance to review the De La catalog, so definitely make sure to share this video with a friend or two and let us know if you think we got it right. Remember to hit those like, subscribe, and notification buttons, and check another video up top or down below until we meet again next time. This is CJ Williams from Culturalist Theory, and I'm out.